Mount Fuji.
Mount Fuji, located on Honshu Island, is the highest mountain in Japan at 3,776.24 m. An active stratovolcano that last erupted in 1707 August, Mount Fuji lies about 100 kilometers southwest of Tokyo, and can be seen from there on a clear day. Mount Fuji's exceptionally symmetrical cone, which is snow-capped several months a year, is a well-known symbol of Japan, and it is frequently depicted in art and photographs, as well as visited by sightseers and climbers. It is one of Japan's three holy mountains along with Mount Tate and Mount Haku. It is a special place of scenic beauty, a historic site, and was added to the World Heritage List as a cultural site on June 22, 2013. The mountain has been selected as a cultural rather than a natural heritage site. As per UNESCO, Mount Fuji has inspired artists and poets and been the object of pilgrimage for centuries. The 25 locations include the mountain itself, Fujisan Honga Senjin Tesha and 6 other Senjin shrines, 2 lodging houses, Lake Yamanaka, Lake Kawaguchi, the Atoshino Hakai hot springs, 2 lava tree molds, the remains of the Fujiko cult in the Haitowana cave, Shiraito Falls, and Mio no Matsubara pine tree grove.
Etymology.
The current kanji for Mount Fuji, Fu and Shi, mean wealth, or abundant, and a man with a certain status respectively. However, these characters are eiji, meaning that the characters were selected because their pronunciations match the syllables of the name but do not carry a meaning related to the mountain. The origin of the name Fuji is unclear. A text of the 10th century tale of the bamboo cutter says that the name came from immortal, Bushi, Fushi, Fuji, and also from the image of abundant, Fu, soldiers, Ji, ascending the slopes of the mountain. An early folk etymology claims that Fuji came from bua, not +2, meaning without equal or non-pareil. Another claims that it came from bujin, not +2 exhaust, meaning never-ending. A Japanese classical scholar in the Edo era, Hirata Atsutane, speculated that the name is from a word meaning a mountain standing up shapely as an ear, of a rice plant. A British missionary, Bob Shigelson, 1854–1944, argued that the name is from the Ainu word for fire, Fuji, of the fire deity, Kami Fuji, which was denied by a Japanese linguist, Kiyosu Kindachi, 1882–1971, on the grounds of phonetic development, sound change. It is also pointed out that Huchi means an old woman, and ape is the word for fire, ape Huchi Kami being the fire deity. Research on the distribution of place names that include Fuji as a part also suggests the origin of the word Fuji is in the Yamato language rather than Ainu. A Japanese toponymist, Kanji Kagami, argued that the name has the same root as wisteria, Fuji, and rainbow, Nji, but with an alternative word Fuji, and came from its long well-shaped slope.
Variations.
In English, the mountain is known as Mount Fuji. Some sources refer to it as Fuji-san, Fujiyama, or, redundantly, Mount Fujiyama. Japanese speakers refer to the mountain as Fuji-san. This san is not the honorific suffix used with people's names, such as Watanabe-san, but the on-reading of the character Yama, shan. Lit mountain used in Sino-Japanese compounds. In Nihonshiki and Kunreishiki romanization, the name is transliterated as Huzai. Other Japanese names for Mount Fuji, which have become obsolete or poetic, include Fuji no Yama, Huzanishin. Lit the mountain of Fuji, Fuji no Takan, Huzino Gao Ling. Lit the high peak of Fuji, Fuoho, Furongfeng. Lit the lotus peak, and Fugaku, Fuyu/Fuyu. Created by combining the first character of Fuji, Fuji, and Yu, mountain.
History.
Mount Fuji is an attractive volcanic cone and a frequent subject of Japanese art, especially after 1600, when Edo, now Tokyo, became the actual capital and people saw the mountain while traveling on the Tokaido Road. Among the most renowned works are Hokusai's 36 Views of Mount Fuji and his 100 Views of Mount Fuji. The mountain is mentioned in Japanese literature throughout the ages and is the subject of many poems. It is thought that the first ascent was in 663 by an anonymous monk. The summit has been thought of as sacred since ancient times and was forbidden to women until the Meiji era. Ancient samurai used the base of the mountain as a remote training area, near the present-day town of Gotemba. The shogun Minamoto no Yoritomo held Yubursame in the area in the early Kamakura period. The first ascent by a foreigner was by Sir Rutherford Alcock in September 1868, from the foot of the mountain to the top in 8 hours and 3 hours for the descent. 427 Alcock's brief narrative in The Capital of the Tycoon was the first widely disseminated description of the mountain in the West. 421-7 Lady Fanny Parkes, the wife of British Ambassador Sir Harry Parkes, was the first non-Japanese woman to ascend Mount Fuji in 1869. Photographer Felix Beto climbed Mount Fuji in the same year. On March 5, 1966, BOAC Flight 911, a Boeing 707, broke up in flight and crashed near the Mount Fuji Gotemba New 5th Station, shortly after departure from Tokyo International Airport. All 113 passengers and 11 crew members died in the disaster, which was attributed to extreme clear air turbulence caused by lee waves downwind of the mountain. There is a memorial for the crash a short distance down from the Gotemba New 5th Station. Today, Mount Fuji is an international destination for tourism and mountain climbing. In the early 20th century, populist educator Frederick Starr's talk were lectures about his several ascents of Mount Fuji, 1913, 1919, and 1923, were widely known in America. A well-known Japanese saying suggests that anybody would be a fool not to climb Mount Fuji once, but a fool to do so twice. It remains a popular meme in Japanese culture, including making numerous movie appearances, inspiring the Infinity logo, and even appearing in medicine with the Mount Fuji sign. In September 2004, the man weather station at the summit was closed after 72 years in operation. Observers monitored radar sweeps that detected typhoons and heavy rains. The station, which was the highest in Japan at 3,780 meters, 12,402 feet, was replaced by a fully automated meteorological system. In early 2013, various sources suggested that the magma chamber pressure could lead to an eruption in early 2015 or sooner of VEI 5 or 6 depending on how the pressure is released. Effects could range from regional air disruption comparable to the Icelandic volcano, Grímsvötn of 2011 to a catastrophe rivaling the destruction of Krakatoa, Krakatau, causing worldwide climatic disruption for years. As of 2011, the Japan Self-Defense Forces and the United States Marine Corps continue to operate military bases near Mount Fuji.
Geography.
Mount Fuji is a distinctive feature of the geography of Japan. It stands 3,776.24 m, 12,389 feet, high and is located near the Pacific coast of central Honshu, just west of Tokyo. It straddles the boundary of Shizuoka and Yamanashi prefectures. 3 small cities surround it, Gotemba to the east, Fujiyoshida to the north, and Fujinomiya to the southwest. It is also surrounded by 5 lakes, Lake Kawaguchi, Lake Yamanaka, Lake Sai, Lake Motozu and Lake Shoji. They, and nearby Lake Ashi, provide excellent views of the mountain. The mountain is part of the Fuji Haku Niza National Park. It can be seen more distantly from Yokohama, Tokyo, and sometimes as far as Chiba, Saitama, Tochigi and Lake Hamana when the sky is clear. Particularly in the winter it can be seen from the Shinkansen until it reaches Utsunomiya Station. It has also been photographed from space during a space shuttle mission, see image, below.
Climate.
The summit of Mount Fuji has a tundra climate, Köppen climate classification ET. The temperature is very low at the high altitude, and the cone is covered by snow for several months of the year. The lowest recorded temperature is 38.0 DEGC recorded in February 1981, and the highest temperature was 17.8 DEGC recorded in August 1942.
Aokigahara.
The forest at the northwest base of the mountain is named Aokigahara. Folk tales and legends tell of demons, ghosts, and goblins haunting the forest, and in the 19th century, Aokigahara was one of many places poor families abandon the very young and the very old. Aokigahara is the world's second most popular suicide location after San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. Since the 1950s, more than 500 people have lost their lives in the forest, mostly suicides. Approximately 30 suicides have been counted yearly, with a high of nearly 80 bodies in 2002. The recent increase in suicides prompted local officials to erect signs that attempt to convince individuals experiencing suicidal intent to rethink their desperate plans, and sometimes these messages have proven effective. The numbers of suicides in the past creates an allure that has persisted across the span of decades. Many of these hikers mark their traveled routes by leaving colored plastic tapes behind, causing concerns from prefectural officials with regard to the forest's ecosystem.
Adventuring. Transportation.
The closest airport with scheduled international service is Mount Fuji Shizuoka Airport. It opened in June 2009. It is about 80 kilometers, 50 miles, from Mount Fuji. The major international airports serving Tokyo, Tokyo International Airport, Haneda Airport, in Tokyo and Narita International Airport in Chiba, are hours from Mount Fuji.
Climbing routes.
Approximately 300,000 people climbed Mount Fuji in 2009. The most popular period for people to hike up Mount Fuji is from July to August, while huts and other facilities are operating. Buses to the fifth station start running on July 1st. Climbing from October to May is very strongly discouraged, after a number of high-profile deaths and severe cold weather. Most Japanese climb the mountain at night in order to be in a position at or near the summit when the sun rises. The morning light is called Yuli-Gwanga Raiko, arrival of light. There are 4 major routes from the fifth station to the summit with an additional 4 routes from the foot of the mountain. The major routes from the fifth station are, clockwise, the Lake Kawaguchi, Tsubashiri, Gotemba, and Fuinamiya routes. The routes from the foot of the mountain are, Shinjuku, Yoshida, Tsuyama, and Murayama routes. The stations on different routes are at different elevations. The highest fifth station is located at Fuinamiya, followed by Kawaguchi, Tsubashiri, and Gotemba. Even though it has only the second highest fifth stations, the Kawaguchi route is the most popular route because of its large parking area and many large mountain huts where a climber can rest or stay. During the summer season, most Mount Fuji climbing tour buses arrive there. The next popular is the Fuinamiya route, which has the highest fifth station, followed by Tsubashiri and Gotemba. Even though most climbers do not climb the Tsubashiri and Gotemba routes, many descend these because of their ash-covered paths. From the 7th station to near the 5th station, one could run down these ash-covered paths in approximately 30 minutes. Besides these routes, there are tractor routes along the climbing routes. These tractor routes are used to bring food and other materials to huts on the mountain. Because the tractors usually take up most of the width of these paths and they tend to push large rocks from the side of the path, the tractor paths are off limits to the climbers on sections that are not merged with the climbing or descending paths. Nevertheless, one can sometimes see people riding mountain bikes along the tractor routes down from the summit. This is particularly risky, as it becomes difficult to control speed and may send some rocks rolling along the side of the path, which may hit other people. The 4 routes from the foot of the mountain offer historical sites. The Murayama is the oldest Mount Fuji route and the Yoshida route still has many old shrines, tea houses, and huts along its path. These routes are gaining popularity recently and are being restored, but climbing from the foot of the mountain is still relatively uncommon. Also, bears have been sighted along the Yoshida route. The ascent from the new 5th station can take anywhere between 3 and 8 hours while the descent can take from 2 to 5 hours. The hike from the foot of the mountain is divided into 10 stations, and there are paved roads up to the 5th station, which is about 2,300 meters, 7,550 feet, above sea level. Huts at and above the 5th stations are usually manned during the climbing season, but huts below 5th stations are not usually manned for climbers. The number of open huts en routes are proportional to the number of climbers. Kawaguchiko has the most while Gotemba has the least. The huts along the Gotemba route also tend to start later and close earlier than those along the Kawaguchiko route. Also, because Mount Fuji is designated as a national park, it is illegal to camp above the 5th station. There are 8 peaks around the crater at the summit. The highest point in Japan, Kenga Mine, is where the Mount Fuji radar system used to be. Climbers are able to visit each of these peaks.
Paragliding.
Paragliders take off in the vicinity of the 5th station Gotemba parking lot, between Subashiri and Hoizan Peak on the south side from the mountain, in addition to several other locations depending on wind direction. Several paragliding schools use the wide sandy grassy slope between Gotemba and Subashiri parking lots as a training hill.
Geology.
Mount Fuji is located at the triple junction where the Amurian Plate, the Okhotsk Plate, and the Philippine Sea Plate meet. Those plates form the western part of Japan, the eastern part of Japan, and the Izu Peninsula respectively. Scientists have identified 4 distinct phases of volcanic activity in the formation of Mount Fuji. The first phase, called Senkomatak, is composed of an andesite core recently discovered deep within the mountain. Senkomatak was followed by the Komatak Fuji, a basalt layer believed to be formed several 100,000 years ago. Approximately 100,000 years ago, Old Fuji was formed over the top of Komatak Fuji. The modern, New Fuji is believed to have formed over the top of Old Fuji around 10,000 years ago. The volcano is currently classified as active with a low risk of eruption. The last recorded eruption was the Hoai eruption which started on December 16, 1707, Hoai 4, 23rd day of the 11th month, and ended about January 1, 1708, Hoai 4, 9th day of the 12th month, during the Edo period. The eruption formed a new crater and a second peak, named Hoizan after the Hoai era, halfway down its side. Fuji spewed cinders and ash which fell like rain in Izukai, Sagami, and Musashi. Since then, there have been no signs of an eruption. In the evening of March 15, 2011, there was a magnitude 6.2 earthquake at shallow depth a few kilometers from Mount Fuji on its southern side. But according to the Japanese Meteorological Service there was no sign of any eruption.
Current eruptive danger.
Following the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, much attention was given to the volcanic reaction of Mount Fuji. In September 2012, mathematical models created by the National Research Institute for Earth Science and Disaster Prevention suggested that the pressure in Mount Fuji's magma chamber could be at 1.6 megapascals, higher than it was in 1707. This was commonly reported in the media to mean that an eruption of Mount Fuji was imminent. However, since there is no known method of measuring the pressure of a volcano's magma chamber, such research is only speculative. The other indicators mentioned, such as active fumaroles and recently discovered faults, are typical occurrences at this type of volcano.